What you're looking at, as you can see, is apple. Now this was given to me by my friend Jim back in late 2020. It says here September 2020, but I think that's when he got it. That printing is a lot neater than I could do, so I know it's not mine. Now, I took it over to the bandsaw. You can see there's a big gouge here, goes in deeper. This is about, I believe it's 9.5 inches long. It's about 8 inches across here, and it's about 3.5 inches tall. I was hoping to get a natural edge piece out of this with bark, but as you can see, a lot of the bark is just not there anymore. So I'm going to see what I can come up with. I love some of the figure you can get in fruit wood, and this looks like it could be another one of those pieces. So I'm going to take this to the drill press. I'll use a large enough bit to make a flat spot for my chuck, and then I'm going to drill a 5/16 inch hole in the center of that for the woodworm screw. So I'll get that done and I'll be back. I'm going to be turning this at 500 RPM using a 1/2 inch bowl gouge. Every time I turn something like this, I admire Phil Anderson more. It's the kind of thing he seems to live for. But it just seems to want to beat the living heck out of me. And now I've got it up to 750 RPM. Oh yeah, it's definitely time to resharpen. Alright, it's looking better. I think it's time to switch now to my 3/8 inch bowl gouge. That's quite a bit better. I think I'll do a little bit of shear cutting now. I don't like shear scraping, but by lowering the handle on my gouge, instead of coming up at this angle, I get a cut rather than a scrape. I have some severe chipping right here. So I'm going to come in from this opposite direction, see if I can take care of that. All right, that did get rid of that chipping. Now I'm going to come back this direction. That's much better. All right, do some shear cutting now across here. That's much nicer. Now I'll work on the bottom here. I'm going to mark now for the recess I want to put in there. I've got my dividers set to half of the diameter of the jaws, and I'm just going to put the right leg on the center and then use the left one to scribe it. I'm going to sand this now. To sand it, I'm going to use this right angle drill with a 2-inch sanding pad. The piece will be turning in reverse to make sure the dust goes into the dust collector through this port, and I will have this turning in reverse at the same time. Now, to make sure that the chuck doesn't come loose, there are 2 set screws. Let me see if I can move this around to show you. There are 2 set screws in here. I don't know if it's going to show up on the camera, but those are tightened against the spindle to make sure that this can't come off. All right, I'll reposition the camera and show you just a little bit of the sanding. All right, I want to use a straight edge to make sure that the foot on the outside is lower than the rest in here. And that's looking good right there. Now I'm going to sand off camera this area here and this area. As it's coming around, it's moving too slowly to do it without a lot of bumping. So I'll do that off camera. I'm going to sand everything up to 400 grit, and then I'll be back. I'm going to use Starbond medium CA glue, the medium thick, to put my logo coin on here now. As you can see, I used pyrography to sign, date, and indicate the species of wood off camera. I don't think that looks too bad. Now let's see if I can get this lined up in here properly. Okay. Let's bring this 5/8 inch socket up here to hold it in there while the glue cures. I'll leave that and then I'll be back. I'm going to figure out what kind of finish I want to put on there. For the finish on this piece, I'm going to use Howard Feed and Wax for a number of reasons. For one thing, I really like the warm glow that it can bring to a piece. I also like the fact that it's extremely easy to use, to work with. I'm just going to put on here a fairly thick coat, and I'm going to give it 20 or 30 minutes to be absorbed into the grain and the figure on this piece. Then I'm going to come back and I'll just buff it a bit. All right, I'll buff this now with a clean paper towel, 1000 RPM. All right, that does have a nice glow to it. Now the areas that I can't get while it's spinning, I just have to do this by hand. So I'll work on this for a couple of minutes and I'll be right back. All right, I think that's looking pretty good. Now it's time to take this off of that woodworm screw and reverse this into this recess. All right, I've got the live center up here for a little support in case this comes flying off of there. You may be able to tell it's not even touching. I can turn it in the opposite direction, so that's just a little bit of insurance just to make sure that this is going to work. So I'm going to be using my 3/8 inch bowl gouge at 1000 RPM. And we'll find out what's going to happen here. I'll just get my face shield. And that's why I had the live center up there. Let's reposition this and we'll see what happens. I guess maybe I was being a little too aggressive on my cuts. Well, at least it didn't do any damage in there. All right, the hand wheel on the tailstock is really getting in the way, so I'm going to have to pull it out of the way now and see what happens here. I'm already thin enough on the two ends, so I got to just concentrate on down here. All right, I'm going to be sanding from 80 grit up to about 400 again. I'll be going in the inside when it's spinning. When I get to these areas, because there's so much air, I'm going to have to do it like this with it locked in the spindle. And this is very sharp along here, so I'm going to very gently go along that edge as well. Well, I actually only got to sand this to 320 grit. I did not realize that I had used my last 400 grit sanding disc, so I'll have to get some more of those, but even at 320 grit, this is feeling pretty darn nice in here. So I'm going to use Howard Feed and Wax again. I'll see what I can do about doing a decent job on the area where the bark should be. The only thing I don't like about Howard Feed and Wax is the fact that it is not food safe. However, I guess I just won't be storing any Smarties in this bowl. So I will finish this, and then I will show you the finished results. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you're still watching, wow, you are amazing. I really appreciate you sticking with me. And now, if I may, I'd like to ask you one favor. Tell me the truth. Do you think I should sand off all that bark and broken wood that's around the top there, or leave it like it is? I would appreciate your input, so please let me know. Until next time, and when I hope you will join me again, have a great day in your shop and be safe. Thanks again for stopping in. Bye-bye now.